All right. Thanks everybody for sticking around for our last panel here. I'm Brad Alexander. I manage the private lands program with Georgia Department of Natural Resources, and it's really great. I really look forward to this meeting every year to get a chance to connect with the prescribed fire community in Georgia. And it's quite the incredible community. We do a lot of great burning in the state. And as many of you know, over 90% of the state is privately owned. So a lot of that burning is done by private landowners. So for the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk to a couple of private landowners about PBAs. And I think PBAs are a fantastic way that this community can better connect with private landowners and get everybody more involved in prescribed fire and what the Prescribed Fire Council does. So first, if y'all would introduce yourselves, a name, your role in the PBA, and then why do you use prescribed fire? Just brief introduction.
My name is George Jensen. I work for Tall Timbers. I'm the Southwest Georgia Prescribed Fire Association coordinator. I get to work with a lot of wonderful landowners and help promote fire in the culture of fire in Southwest Georgia. I use fire because pyrodiversity enkindles biodiversity.
Hello, my name is Reid. I'm a pretty new private landowner since 2018. I was new to prescribed fire. I reached out to George reached out to me at a Tall Timbers meeting, and we're here now. He asked me to be president of the PBA. I said yes. I had no idea what that meant, but here we are, and I'm glad to be here to speak to fire royalty. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, ditto to all of that and the pyrodiversity. I'm George Hamilton. I live in Mitchell County on my brother-in-law's farm with my wife, and I burn on that property. I burn on property that my wife and I have, and also on some property that my mother-in-law owned, all family farm that's been around in family for several generations. I do burn a lot with the PBA. I love burning, and I do a lot of volunteer burning too. I've burned with the Forest Service. Shout out to Mike Davis, and with the DNR. So shout out to Shan.
So I've got a few questions to get us started, but y'all be thinking of questions. I want to open it up to the audience, and y'all ask questions of these fine folks about PBAs. But what attracted you to participate in the PBA?
What attracted me is I started my burning career with our forester, and I followed him around. He said, drop fire there, watch that fire line. And I would ask him, why are we doing this? And he was kind of irritated with my constant questions. What are your goals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He said, you need to go get some training somewhere. And my property actually borders Tall Timbers, so I wandered over there. I went to a Tall Timbers meeting. I forgot the topic of that meeting. And they started talking about burning. I said, that's really cool. It looks nice. And then George approached me. I ended up on Learn to Burn. And the knowledge that I got on that first Learn to Burn made me desire much, much more training. So I knew what I was doing, why I was burning, and it just increased my knowledge. So I know what to do. I can now answer the question, what are your goals and why are you doing what you're doing? It just makes me a smarter burner, which I think is the goal of anybody that's burning.
Yeah, I was trying to increase the amount of burning on the property that we have in Mitchell County. And was always looking for more training, more resources, and that sort of thing. Mike Davis, he kept telling me I need to get involved with the PBA. I need to find the PBA. And I was actually at the Fire Council meeting in Jasper, I guess 2 years ago. And George was there and Matt Bradley, they were up there from Southwest Georgia. And I thought, well, what's Southwest Georgia PBA doing up here in Jasper? And I grew up in North Georgia, so I just wanted to be up there for that meeting. And went over and started talking to George, and then got back, and he came out for a site visit to look at some stuff, and next thing I knew, I was very involved.
And then related to that, y'all are all leaders in the Southwest Georgia PBA. And so why did you feel that it was important to get involved with the PBA leadership? And George too, I want to hear your thoughts there.
Well, I'm gonna answer your question with a very brief story, because that's just how I am. So what really clicked for me and why I wanted to build out such a landowner base of leadership, especially coordinating a prescriber association, is me and Tom were actually on a burn in longleaf wiregrass, and it was a little bit later in the growing season, and we started to get a little bit worried about scourge, and an individual that we had on the burn wrapped it in a corner, and it started to burn a little hot. And Tom looked at me and said, George is he's not letting the fire do the work. And that to me was the impetus for as much effort as I try to put into this PBA, is getting landowners to understand fire ecology and how to let the fire do the work.
As far as me as a private landowner, I like the PBA's involvement because it allows us to do different things burning. Initially, we were burning 500 acres at a time to get it done. We had a certain time period. Our forester was on a schedule, other jobs, etc. I wanted to go more once I started learning about fire and the effects of the fire on the on the timber, on the forest, on the woods, on the animals. I wanted to start getting to that mosaic that people talk about in the checkerboard burning. And it was difficult to get a forester who had multiple units to burn to come spend the time I wanted. So I reached out, or PBA reached out to me, and I worked with George, and we decided we could do smaller burns with PBA help. I can get other people to come out and help me do these burns, watch fire lines, and I can burn the smaller units and get the goals I wanted. I can burn pretty much all year. Like Mark Melvin told me when I first met him, I asked him when's a good time to burn. He probably doesn't remember this, and he said, every day is a good burn day, things like that. So having PBA involvement and having neighbors involved, I have 4 neighbors, and I've helped them burn their property, and they've helped me burn my property. And we've been able to burn all year, smaller blocks, and reach our goals. And the cost of PBA help is pretty negligible. It's almost free.
So my experience with the PBA has just been really great. It's not just having extra people come and help burn and watch a fire line somewhere, or maybe help put fire down more quickly because you've got extra resources there. But just having folks come out who are also burning, and they look at the property that you're going to do, and they may suggest something different, something better, something that I haven't thought about because I burned it this way 3 times before, so I'm just going to do it that way again. George has come out and looked at some stuff, and we burned some stuff a lot hotter than I would have ever thought to do. And it's, and it looks great. But also just being able to go burn with other landowners, and see what they're trying to accomplish, see what their goals are and how they're doing it. And I mean, every burn is different. Every landowner's goals they may be similar, but they always have a little bit of difference to them. And just being able to hear what they're doing, I always take something back from that. And then on top of that, just I've made some really good friends in the PBA, just going around meeting people and burning with them.
Right. Yeah. I think it should also be mentioned too that a lot of our very active burners are often become our executive board for the PBA, and so a lot of that kind of meshes well together.
So I've got other questions for the panel, but I want to make sure y'all have a chance. Are there questions from the audience? Yeah, Mark.
Just how many PBAs are there in the state of Georgia that are being involved in conversion? How does that work?
Currently there are.
Yeah, Mark was asking about how many PBAs are in the state, and are there any that are emerging, and what does the future look like, I think.
Yeah, currently there are 2 official PBAs, and then there is the Chattahoochee Fall Line Co-op, which operates similar to how a prescriber association operates. The difference between the 2 is a co-op is often a lot larger of an organization. I believe RT has somewhere between like 11 and 1,200 people in his organization. We do not operate at that scale. There are, I've had 5 questions today about starting PBAs in other portions of Georgia. I think we could even split up our PBA into 2 PBAs if we really wanted to. They're very grassroots and can be very small organizations where it's just neighbors helping neighbors. Or you can build it all the way out into a regional, like our PBA, or a state organization like Oklahoma PBA that umbrellas a lot of smaller organizations.
So currently there's one, the cooperative that's led by, RT and GFC in the Chattahoochee Fall Line area, so that area east of Columbus. There's one in Southwest Georgia that, George is coordinating, and then Ash, Curtis with Tall Timbers is starting one in east Georgia. So that's where we're at right now, as far as official ones, and then, very early discussions of others. And if there are landowners in other parts of the state that are interested, we very much want to have those conversations.
Having a coordinator really helps a PBA, especially when you're operating at a large scale like a region. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they cannot be done without a coordinator. But it does have, we've seen, and I think we've established in our regions, because Tall Timbers Private Lands Fire Initiative goes from East Texas all the way to Delmarva, and every one of those PBAs has a coordinator. It's a pretty effective model to get a lot of burning and education done, that it can hurt not having a coordinator.
Yeah. Other questions from that? Ken?
George, yesterday's meeting, we talked about, somebody asked me about insurance. You talked briefly about the initiative that's at least what's being looked at for PBAs.
So Ken was asking about insurance, and the PBAs in Georgia are starting an insurance program, and so was asking George about that, the process.
Definitely, the culture of prescribed fire in the South is built on partnership. This insurance product that we are rolling out is in partnership with Georgia DNR and Georgia Forestry Commission. We are utilizing our PBAs, the Savannah River PBA and the Southwest Georgia PBA, along with the Chattahoochee Fall Line Co-op. And we are releasing an insurance product that, upon approval, and we're still working out the details a little bit with the insurance companies, but it will look like landowners that are interested, that are part of one of these organizations, they can submit burns to the coordinator that will, or a GFC staff or a ranger that will approve the burn, approve the fire lines. And from there, that burn will be considered an insured burn. We're really trying to mitigate you as the landowner's liability, and making sure that we're adding layers of protection for not only ourselves, but also landowners that are burning. Georgia is a state that we're pretty fire friendly, but that won't always keep you out of court, especially if somebody that may not be familiar with prescribed fire, you have a fire jump on their property, you may find yourself in court. Insurance is very, very, very expensive. We are what's considered a hard market right now for insurance. And so we are utilizing a lot of this data from this 1 year of this trial period, next year, 2025, try to prove the model that we can effectively do prescribed fire, because we do in the state really well. And we can hopefully lower that so it's realistic for more landowners to kind of get on these aggregate plans.
Other questions? All right, well, I'll keep it going. So what would George and Tom, what would you say to a landowner that might be hesitant to think about joining a PBA or speaking to somebody about starting a PBA? What would you say to them?
That's probably my favorite question. I've been approached as a landowner, why would I want PBA people on my property? What can they do for me? First thing they can do is, as a PBA, which I learned in the very beginning, is a PBA and its technical experts like George can go out and visit them and show them that the PBA is not going to come take over your property. It's not going to burn it to the ground. The PBA people that would help you are not incompetent people. They're not just weekend burners. And I've been accused of that way in the beginning, and that's not going to be the case. As a private landowner, I was hesitant to have George come on my property because I'm very protective of a very valuable resource. And I didn't trust anybody to come on the property and do that job except for the professionals. And once I got into the PBA and started networking with my neighbors and other people that are burning quietly and have been burning a lot longer than me, that fear in my world went down, and I gladly had people come on my property and help burn. And in fact, on our property down in Grady County, that's borders Tall Timbers, we've hosted several learn to burns, which I've had a lot of neighbors come to, and the learn to burns to me are what PBA people should be promoting, because it not only does it educate the burners a little bit more, it gives the landowner more confidence, and my confidence level went way up. But I have neighbors that are new to the area, and I was actually doing one of my own burns, and I was walking the fire line, and the neighbor was on the back porch, she had a phone in her hand, and she was telling the guy on the phone, I don't know if anybody's watching this fire, but there's fire coming towards my house. And I heard her having that conversation on the phone. I had to run over and say, hey, this is prescribed fire, it's controlled, you're good, hang up. And she had just been probably about 8 months ago and wasn't aware of prescribed fire in the area. And to me, I see that and the smoke management as big problems. And I think landowners, the private landowners are the ones that are going to be the soldiers to help Mr. Park right there and fight these fights so we don't lose control of our ability to burn when we want, and to keep our burn windows there, and PBA help, PBA memberships like that. We can have more burn days, smaller burns, pay attention to the smoke, and those things that are, I think, a lot of landowners, I'm not saying anybody in this room, but the people that don't come to these meetings that burn, they might not be aware of all this intrusions that are coming our way. I'm from California, and I know what the government can do, and that scares me to death. So, and then hidden in the back is my wife back there. She's from California, wasn't a big fan of fire, was very hesitant, and she's a certified burner now. So PBA can do a lot of good things for the landowners, and the PBA, I think, is a very valuable tool to make that happen.
Yeah, I'll just add briefly
Sorry.
to that. I mean, the PBA is just a great resource, and there's a huge amount of knowledge in Southwest Georgia on burning, more than I ever realized. And just the PBA getting more involved, more people being involved in the PBA, you just have an area where you can tap into that vast knowledge of burning in all types of different situations, all different types of years.
So we talked a little about this, and I think it's an important point that I want to, make today. Everyone in this room, we've talked a lot about our shared responsibility with prescribed fire, whether it's smoke or spotting or whatever. Many facets of that, and we do that all in kind of a public trust. As Ken alluded to, we're a minority and we're affecting a majority of folks. What role do you think that PBAs play in helping maintain that public trust and build it further? And that's for anybody on the team.
So unlike fire councils, which kind of operate at the state level and are more into the overall arching culture of prescribed fire, PBAs are place-based organizations. We host a lot of smaller workshops specifically designed for landowners that is entirely place-based. And so, meeting those landowners and others and conservation advocates where they are is a really good way to help spread that message. And we can take some of the findings and some of the support of the council down to a level that is more regional or even site specific. And so I think that we need both of them, specifically councils, because we're all here today, but we can take a lot of that knowledge and that the wonderful fire council we have in Georgia and bring it down to the individual properties through prescribed burn associations.
And again, just as a private landowner, I think the mission of the PBA at our level is to take the message that all the professionals have been sharing with us, taking that message down to the newer people in the neighborhoods, the people that are afraid of fire, the people that don't understand burning and how significant it is to the health of Georgia. And the PBA is that grassroots effort, in my opinion, to go out and meet, people that are busy with their lives and kind of network with them and bring fire and information, education to them, and maybe, help them understand and make it very comfortable to keep on burning in Georgia and keeping the woods like they are. I'm a victim of climbing fern, and all these things I've learned throughout are helping me deal with it. I just think the PBA has a good tool to promote burning to people that don't really have a chance to come to these meetings and work with forestry people and but all landowners.
I don't have anything to add to
That's the first.
that.
So George, what do you think's led to the early accomplishments of this PBA? Young George.
Oh, Lord. I told you could call me old George, but it'd be fine.
As I said before, the culture of prescribed fire in the Southeast is one of partnership. And I think that we all carry that message here, being in the fire council, but the success of the PBA is two-factored. And the first factor is that we have landowners that give a dang about their properties. And that is not something that you will see in every state or situation. And I've seen it in other states and situations. I mean, I work in the private sector doing habitat management, and landowners, specifically in Southwest Georgia, that's where my region is, but across all of Georgia, just care about the land, and they're willing to share that sweat equity on other people's properties. And I don't think that our PBA would be nearly as successful without landowners that care. And if you're a landowner in the audience and you care, consider starting or joining a PBA. Second factor to that is that we have fantastic partnerships with our state, federal, and other NGO partners. I mean, we are constantly sponsored by these people, and Georgia DNR, GFC, Longleaf Alliance, Quail Forever, all of these people come and help train and teach our landowners. And that partnership is key, and it's something that I want to maintain for the entire life of this PBA.
And just to kind of piggyback on that, as a private landowner, and the partnership with the professionals is no joke. I've had the cream of the crop in this room on my property hosting learn and burns. I've actually had Jan drop fire on my property. To me, that's huge. But the PBA is not just some organization to be left to flail on its own. You're going to get the professional help, and they're more than willing. And if you're a private landowner thinking about getting PBA involved, thinking you're not going to get care and quality help, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be dead wrong. The motivation and the intensity they come out with just to help you, not do it for you, but help you, to me is just huge. And I've never seen that anywhere in California, but state of Georgia seems really good on that. So,
Any other questions? Yeah.
If I'm a landowner and I want for more property than I can buy, how do I get extra leather boots on my land? It's the process of getting extra people on my land. Where does that start?
I'd start, that's my wife, by the way, trying to But the way I did it is I made her go to a learn to burn so she could be a certified burner, and now she wants to argue with me who's gonna be a burn boss on our property.
So we're not up here to say that prescribed burn associations are the silver bullet that will solve all of the acreage deficits that we have in the state. Just like every individual property can't get to every burn, we also cannot get to every burn. And to mitigate expectations a little bit, it is absolutely true that we do not get to every burn. We do work with tall timbers, and internally we have a prioritization model that builds off of sweat equity. So how much participation do you have in the organization that's helping you? And then the ecological integrity of the burn that we're doing. And so those two main factors and some subsidiary factors really play into, when and where we can show up. Also weather, also just basic planning, staff availability, all kind of plays into how many and where we can burn. Now we burned like 61 times this year. So we did a pretty good job, but that still doesn't mean we get to every property burn.
Yeah, I want to add that if you do get people to come help you burn, I have found that if you feed them well, they're very enthusiastic about coming back to help you. Unlike Tom, feeding us Crustables.
Hey, no comment on food prioritization.
What food have you found? No, any other questions from the audience? So what does success look like for the PBA over the next year for y'all?
Success to me personally, obviously, is getting my land burned with quality people and having a very small cost. But success for a PBA down the road would be more networking among the private landowners. Let me know when you're burning, I can help you if need be, you can help me when I need it, but reaching out and just simple networking where the private landowners are now talking to each other without George having to, push and shove and get them, and force it down their throats, so to speak. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I know a lot of people are busy, but I just think more networking among PBA people like myself going out and sharing your knowledge and teaching people the resources. But I just think neighbors talking to neighbors, it's really simple. It's an old thing, but just neighbors talking to people and spreading the word and helping each other.
Yeah, I think a success would be, growing the PBA, whether it's either one in the south part of the state or more. And networking, like Tom said, right now we tend to, George will contact us and other people and say, hey, there's a burn, can we come? But to get it to a point where people who are members of the PBA and they just text somebody, Tom, hey, I'm going to burn tomorrow. Can you come help me burn? Sure. I can help you burn on, Friday or something, would be a nice goal. Not to cut you out.
The goal is to get George, lose George's job.
Got it.
Did you have anything?
So this year we had about, of those 61 burns, I'm gonna say roughly 20 were what we call assist, which is where we either write the burn plan, check the fire breaks out. We do some capacity of work that promotes the landowner to conduct the prescribed burn. And through some way we facilitated that happening. That is where we want to see more and more burns take place, where we're teaching to fish. I love to drag a drip torch, but I also love it when I can review a burn plan, go look at fire breaks, and have a landowner that's comfortable enough with our plan to conduct the burn themselves. I don't need to be there every time, but the PBA in my success for next year is that we continue our track record of not really having a lot of jumps. We have safe burns. The PBA itself acts as a liability mitigation tool. That's why insurance companies are very interested in them, because it's another layer of that. It's another umbrella to help landowners mitigate their liability. You just have another pair of eyes on the burn plans that you're conducting. And so my goal for next year is to continue having a culture of safety in the Prescribed Burn Association.
So our final question, and we're real short on time, but I did want to, I think this is real important, is the folks in this room, we represent the Prescribed Fire Council. What can we do to support PBAs over the next year?
Just from my perspective, just continue to have events like this and invite PBA people to the meeting. Maybe all the professional organizations that need training that can reach out to private landowners, get with private landowners and maybe suggest that we could maybe get on your property and have a learn to burn, and just continue to try to educate as many in the public as you can, and just keep pushing the message, but just continue to do what you do, support the landowner.
As the coordinator and somebody that works with the council, I think that the council and its partners have done a fantastic job supporting the PBA. And what you guys can do is, if you're not active in your regional PBA, to become more active. But honestly, almost all of the partners and all the sponsors of the Fire Council do attend and work with PBAs. And I specifically want to thank all of you for the continued support. That is the thing that's going to keep this culture of fire alive in Georgia.
Well, thanks y'all for taking time out of your day and joining us here today. And thanks everybody for sticking around and working through us with us through this panel.